Our story begins with Ein, a battered and beaten young man. Standing at the edge of a cliff, he blames himself for being weak, feeling that his life has been pointless. Overwhelmed with despair, he decides to end it all. As he prepares to leap, Ein reflects on how terribly people have treated him. No one ever respected him, and he believes he's nothing more than garbage. Now, he feels like he'll die just as he lived, unwanted and useless. Earlier that day, a skilled swordsman named Zoid fought a huge rat monster. While Zoid held the creature off, his teammate Jolene, a mage, worked on a spell. She took her time, causing Zoid to get impatient. Finally, Jolene launched a powerful fireball that destroyed the beast. With the fight over, Zoid called for the team's trash picker to do his job. The trash picker was Ein. Ein tried to remind them that his name wasn't Trash Picker, but he tripped and stumbled. His teammates laughed at him, calling him useless. Jolene joked that they should pity him since he wasn't a high-level class like they were. To them, Ein was just low-common garbage. Ein apologized, saying that carrying all their supplies made him clumsy, but Zoid snapped at him to hurry up and do his job. In this world, everyone is born with a specific job granted by the goddess of light, while their abilities improve through training, guided by the goddess of darkness. There are 3 tiers of jobs: rare, high common, and low common. Rare jobs belong to a small group of highly skilled people, like wealthy merchants or brilliant military leaders. High common jobs, like Zoid's swordsman role and Jolene's mage abilities, allow for combat and magic. Low common job, however, are meant for the most basic tasks: appraisers, farmers, and others who aren't suited for battle. Ein's parents died when he was young, leaving him without a family trade to inherit. He decided to become an adventurer in hopes of earning a better life, but it didn't go as planned. His job was appraiser, one of the lowest ranking roles. Though his skill let him identify items and creatures, it wasn't valued by his team. They treated him like a servant. After the fight with the rat, Ein examined it using his appraisal skill. He discovered the rat was rated F in rarity, the lowest possible. However, one of its teeth was D rank. Ein tried to pull the tooth out, but it wouldn't budge. When he asked Zoid for help, Zoid sneered at the idea, refusing to touch the filthy rat. Jolene chimed in, saying that dealing with trash was a trash picker's job, not theirs. Once again, Ein was left to struggle alone, feeling more humiliated and worthless than ever. Zoid angrily hits Ein with a rock and gets even more upset when Ein glares back at him. In a fit of rage, Zoid kicks Ein to the ground. Jolene, trying to justify Zoid's actions, reminds Ein that they're protecting him. She tells him he should be more grateful, but Ein, defeated, apologizes. He knows this world isn't fair, so he gets back to work. His teammates continue to mock him as he does his job, with Jolene looking disgusted by the dirty work. They both can barely stand watching as Ein shoves his hand into the rat's mouth to get the tooth. Ein knows they're right. His job is horrible. All he does is find and carve material from monsters, basically rummaging through garbage. Zoid piles on by saying that Ein is only part of their team because Zoid didn't want to touch the disgusting monster parts. They call him the trash picker boy and tell him to hurry up so they can continue. Ein, knowing he has no other choice, silently does his job. His only way to survive in this world is by enduring and picking through garbage. A short time later, Zoid is thrilled when they discover the corpse of the hellhound. He sends Ein to pick parts from it, but Ein hesitates. According to the guild's intel, this type of monster shouldn't even be in this dungeon. Zoid brushes off his concerns and tells him to do his job. Zoid and Jolene start thinking about how much money they'll make from this. As Ein appraises a hellhound, he finds that its parts have a B rarity, high-quality materials. He starts taking them, but then Zoid notices another hellhound nearby and excitedly tells Ein to get parts from that one too. Ein freezes in terror. He's smarter than Zoid and realizes something is wrong. The guild's map says there should only be one corridor, but they're seeing 2 hellhounds. Zoid dismisses Ein's worries, saying the map is probably wrong. But Ein isn't convinced. It feels like a bad sign, and he thinks they should leave. Zoid doesn't care about his opinion. He tells Ein to leave if he doesn't want to keep up. Zoid threatens to fire Ein, and says he won't even pay him for the work he's already done. He gives Ein one last chance to follow him. Ein is in a terrible position. Not many parties would take someone with a low-class job like his. Being in Zoid's group is the only way he can make enough money to survive. So, despite his anger and frustration, he knows he has no choice but to follow. Life isn't fair, and he has to endure. Later, Zoid is even happier when they find a bunch of dead hellhounds. Ein, however, is worried. He wonders what could be powerful enough to defeat so many high-level monsters. If other adventurers had done this, they would have collected the parts already. But Zoid doesn't even think about it. He's just excited about the loot and doesn't want to waste any time thinking. Ein freezes in terror as he notices several live hellhounds approaching. Suddenly, his teammates realize they're in grave danger. Ein figures the pack must have been fighting over food, but Jolene doubts they can defeat even one of these beasts. Without hesitation, they decide to run. However, escaping seems impossible. That's when Zoid comes up with a cruel plan. With a sinister gleam in his eyes, he tells Jolene to cast a paralysis spell on Ein. Ein is horrified, but Jolene agrees. She apologizes, explaining that she's not ready to die yet, and then paralyzes him. She tries to justify it by saying that if he's lucky, the spell will wear off in time for him to escape before he's torn apart. Zoid drives his boot into Ein's chest, sneering at the hellhounds that their sacrifice is served. Ein can only watch in shock as his so-called teammates wave goodbye and leave him behind. He tries to call out for help, but they're already gone. The hellhounds descend on him, tearing into his flesh. Strangely, the excruciating pain cancels the paralysis, allowing Ein to fight back. Desperate, he tosses his bag, spilling apples everywhere. This brief distraction buys him just enough time to limp away. As Ein drags himself forward, he makes a horrifying discovery. His traitorous teammates have blocked the exit. Trapped, he takes another corridor, hoping to find a way out. Unfortunately, it only leads to a dead end. Behind him, the growls of the hellhounds grow louder, making it clear he can't go back. With no other options, he finds himself standing on the edge of a cliff. Now Ein faces a terrible choice: jump and fall to his death, or stay and be devoured alive. He can't help but laugh bitterly at his situation. He blames his birth as a worthless appraiser, recalling how he became an adventurer to change his life only to end up mocked and abandoned. For a long time, Ein believed his appraisal skill was to blame for his misery. But now, in this moment of clarity, he realizes a harsh truth. He was the one at fault. Instead of working to improve himself, he blamed his circumstances and gave up. But realizing this now, standing at the edge of a cliff, is far too late. Determined to escape the torment, Ein steps off the edge. As he falls, his earlier thoughts echo. He was treated like garbage, and now he will die like trash. The next thing Ein knows, he's waking up in a strange place. Somehow he's still alive, and his wounds are completely healed. Stunned, he notices a massive tree surrounded by walls of cascading water. When a mysterious woman approaches and gently kisses his forehead, he regains consciousness fully. In disbelief, Ein uses his appraisal skill on a droplet falling from the tree. The result leaves him speechless. The droplet comes from the legendary world tree, a mythical source of mana that everyone thought was long gone. When he examines the tree itself, the appraisal confirms it really is the world tree. Ein is shocked. All his life, he believed it to be just a legend. Supposedly, it withered away ages ago. Without it, no one could explain how mana still existed. Over time, scholars theorized that other world trees might exist, but none were ever found, at least not above ground. Looking at the world tree now, Ein understands it saved his life. He whispers a thank you to it. Just then, he hears a voice, though no one seems to be around. Dismissing it, he focuses on the reality of his situation. There are no monsters nearby, and for now, he seems safe. But Ein knows his former teammates won't come looking for him, and he has no food to sustain himself. With no other choice, Ein decides to press on. He thanks the world tree one final time, then sets out into the unknown, ready to see where this second chance will lead him. The mysterious girl from earlier appears, clearly worried about Ein. This part of the dungeon isn't on any guild map, making Ein anxious about encountering even stronger monsters than the Hellhounds. Though the Hellhounds were tough, Ein has no choice but to keep going. Surviving his near-death experience has changed his perspective, and he promises himself never to put limits on his abilities again. Armed only with a rock, Ein carefully moves through the dungeon. To his surprise, there aren't any monsters in sight. At first, it's a relief, but as he tries to find his way out, things take a terrifying turn. Out of nowhere, something slashes off his ear. The pain is unbearable, and as he scrambles to retrieve it, he loses several fingers too. Ein uses his appraisal skill and discovers that his attacker is an S-rank gremlin, a creature far beyond his strength. The gremlin cuts into him, and Ein quickly realizes that knowing his opponent's rank won't help him win. He tries to flee, but the monster doesn't let up. Just as the gremlin prepares to deliver a final blow, something unexpected happens. The gremlin suddenly freezes, trembling in fear, before it's crushed by a much larger creature. Ein is horrified to see an S-rank death bear has arrived. The massive beast claws through his face, leaving him blind in one eye, and begins to crush him. As the pain becomes too much, Ein gives up, convinced he's about to die. Then, a mysterious boy shows up and saves him. The boy grumbles about being begged by that girl to save Ein, warning him not to get the wrong idea. Ein loses consciousness. When he wakes up, his destroyed eye has been replaced, and all his injuries are healed once again. He's back near the World Tree. For the first time, Ein sees the mysterious girl who had been worried about him. He's speechless. She's incredibly beautiful, like something out of fairy tale. She smiles gently at him, leaving Ein awestruck.